Hello, Star Wars Galaxy of Hero Places, and Detect Shorto, and today I'm going to be talking about the Empire, the faction of the Empire, of what they could do with, what CG could do with the Empire, or what I could hope for 2020 and 2021, the time frame of getting them reworked. Of course, at the time of recording, it's March 15th, 2020. And we've had confirmed that they're still working on like a spaghetti code to make it so that they could do content a lot better and a lot faster, more efficient, or from my understanding. And so hopefully we get something like these characters touched up, reworked in the near future. And I'm going to go over characters of the Empire and see and show kind of my thoughts on how to improve them to make them slightly better than what they are. So first off, I'm going to talk about the trio of the Empire, the best of the Empire, and what they could do to be made slightly better. They don't need a lot of touch-ups. They're really great. That's why they're the top three. They're the trio. But I want to cover, the characters. So first off, my opinion, Thrawn is, of course, he was my first Gear 13, Relic 2 at least, and then I eventually got a Relic 4 character. I wanted him for the speed and all that. Like, yeah, stats-wise, that's kind of my stats. 320 speed. I wouldn't mind faster, but hey, he's still really good. But there are some things that I feel like it's time for him to be touched up ever so slightly. Not like super, broken touch up, but just a light touch up. So I'm going to go down the ability. So basic and manipulate and fracture is fine. I have no problems with this, especially the fact that manipulate kind of synergizes with Nihilus, where he'll use a basic and applies a speed on someone, then you follow up with Nihilus's basic to help him cool himself down. But also, since Nihilus's basic actually dispels, it'll dispel that speed, and the character will be ability blocked, which is kind of cool. Aside from that, yes, manipulate, fracture. Actually, I think that's one of the only characters still that gives a buff, not a debuff, a buff to an opponent, which is kind of funny. It's like what, grant speed up. Sometimes I notice it doesn't work. I don't know if that's based on potency, but yeah. Fracture obviously still good. I don't have a problem with it. Grand Admiral's current command, I feel like could be slightly boosted, just giving the 40% health, especially since a lot of people use them for, Grand Arena. If they get a good team where they can just whittle an opponent down, and all they have to do is just keep using this ability to top your characters off. That's nice. Just add the 40% health recovery. It's nothing else is needed. His leadership really needs a touch-up, just because his leadership, especially under an AI defensively, just does not work very well. They can do a few things, but first I want to mention he is a character I would love to see have this 3 stat ability boost. So the 15% max protection go up to 30, 25% offense goes up to 30, and maybe add some sort of like crit avoidance, something else to give his leadership something more, some more viability. Aside from that, his new buff that you get, the maneuver, I feel like the dispel all buffs, it should read like this: dispel all debuffs on this character, gain 65% turn meter, and recover 15% health and protection. This way, that wasted turn, dispelling like a small damage over time or offense down, just a 1 debuff, the AI isn't like wasting that super effectively, or it's just an ineffective ability it's just horrible, honestly. So that's why I'm saying just give that a light boost, just a tad bit, just to make it, not too broken. And then the ebb and flow, I don't have a problem with. It's fine. I don't have a problem with the rest of it. It's just really his leadership is what needs a touch up. Palpatine, there's not a lot to go on him. Crackling Doom is where I really want to talk about. Before I get to Crackling Doom, I want to preface this. Power of the Dark Side deals special damage to all enemies with 70% chance to stun them for a turn. I should say 75%, but yeah. Shocked enemies are stunned for 2 turns and have all their shocks dispelled. And then all allies gain offense up. Okay, I'm fine with that part. But honestly, it's to the point in time where I feel like, first off, if shocked enemies are stunned, which cannot be resisted, it should not be resisted for 2 turns, and have their shock dispelled, honestly, have their shock reset for 1 turn. Just reset for 1 turn. Instead of dispelled. Honestly, that would just make his Power of the Dark Side a little better. His Crackling Doom. Oh wait, no, or is it this basic? No, I think it is the Crackling Doom. Yeah. And when he inflicts shock, he gains 5% max protection. It should say, because of my suggestive change, with his basic, when he inflicts shock with a basic, he should gain 5% max protection and then recover 5% max protection as well. So it's kind of a 10% swing, just to make him a little better with his basic. So it's kind of a way to top off. It's a way to give him a little more viability, because Palpatine, aside from getting him to Gear 13, which I'm like 1 thing away, but it'll be a while before I get him to Gear 13, he's still kind of squishy. So honestly, it would be kind of nice to give him some sort of like regenerative abilities aside from healing. Next is Darth Vader. The things I really want to cover and preface is his leadership's great, but I think this is how it should read. Empire and Sith allies have 50 counter chance, 40 defense, 30 offense. And then the 50% chance to remove 20% turn meter when they damage an enemy. Not, and I don't know how the grammar part would be, but this would only count if it's a on their turn only. So no counterattacks or assist would remove that. Just so that his leadership just doesn't get too broken with, countering, you're just stripping turn meter. Or if they did, maybe counterattacks, maybe the 10%, have the 50% chance goes down to maybe 25 or 20% chance to remove maybe 10% turn meter. So it's not like super broken. They could do something like that. But have Vader be the Empire and Sith counter lead, because he needs counter chance, even in his unique. Aside from that, because a lot of times Vader will be under Palpatine, Vader should still have at least 50% counter chance under his leadership, or his unique, not his lead, under his unique, because of his fighting style. He should have 50 to 75% counter chance, just because he does counter a lot. The way he fights, it's Dajim So. And it's based on you block or parry, and then you counter right back. Makashi is kind of similar, but it's more of a fencing-like style, so Count Dooku makes more sense to be 100% counter chance, where Darth Vader makes sense to be less than that. Just less. Tarkin, I have talked about him on a summoned a video that will be coming out by the time of the recording. By the time of this video will come out, the video will already be out. But having the ability to possibly summon the interrogation droid, yet he has to manually summon it all the time. He doesn't auto summon unless maybe he's lead or something. But what he needs, of course, he needs a little bit more buffs, but his leadership again deserves to have 2 more stat boosts added in, like maybe potency, 30 speed, potency, and tenacity, because he's like kind of tenacious. He could be that kind of leadership for the Empire: speed, potency, tenacity, and then the rest of his abilities. But I feel like his inflict defense down and expose on all enemies that fall below 100% health should be self-inflicted on, like the enemies, they self-inflict themselves. It would just make the most sense. It would just make that leadership a little better, kind of like Count Dooku's. And there's got to be something more in his Calvius conviction. Just some more stats or something, just to give him a little more viability in the Empire. Because he's not like a massive damage dealer. Yeah, he could ramp up over time. But I feel like he deserves to be that character that, is more about this ability. Gaining potency up. Honestly, the gaining potency up should be Empire allies gain potency up for 3 turns, and then he inflicts these debuffs down, maybe even tenacity down or something, because he's kind of that debuff support. And then Royal Guard, everyone's been wanting him reworked. Just give him another unique with the guard mechanic. Have his character, because he has worked with Vader. Have his character mostly synergize with Palpatine, obviously, but there would be like maybe some synergy with Vader. Not too much, but some synergy with Vader, because he is seen, or these, Royal Guards have been seen with Vader in his chamber. While he's healing up and meditating, like in Rogue One, you see Royal Guards in the back. This makes sense for that. So Royal Guard, yes, does deserve to have at least some synergy with Vader, but not too much. And just again, some more, buffs for the Empire, maybe some more ways to taunt. It'll be a little more like General Kenobi-esque. Next, so I gave Vader the counter lead for Empire. This means Gar Saxon, of course, aside from Gar Saxon Imperial Super Commando, getting the Imperial tag, Imperial Trooper tag, as well as the Mandalorian tag, deserves to have their leadership affect just those factions. Imperial Trooper and Mandalorian allies gain 50 counter chance, 40 defense, and maybe even 15, 20 offense, just to add a little more buff to that. And then whenever an Empire uses a basic, or whenever an Imperial Trooper Mandalorian ally uses a basic attack, they recover 5% health and protection. Add the protection part, just to make his leadership better. Give us a reason to Zeta him. Aside from that, give him a little bit more. Maybe even have him have counter chance in his leadership, or his unique, like maybe 35, 40 counter chance. He doesn't need a lot, but he does deserve to at least have counter chance in his kit. Imperial Super Commando, just, if he was an Imperial Trooper, I'm sure people would love using it. His kit is simple. There's nothing too crazy broken about it. So his kit deserves to have, or just that Imperial Trooper tag. Honestly, in my opinion, the Imperial Trooper buff on Super Commando should be 15 potency, and then maybe Gar Saxon would be 20 tenacity, something like that. I know Magma Trooper has tenacity, but who uses that anymore aside from people actually using the Thrawn combo to fight Traya teams? There's not much. Death Trooper. So in the comics, some recent Darth Vader comics, Death Troopers have been seen used working with Vader, but Death Troopers have also been used with characters like, well, obviously Director Krennic, because that's the first showing of them, but they've been used with Thrawn, and they've been used with Moff Gideon from The Mandalorian. Spoilers, sorry, but you've got to have seen it by now. It's like an amazing show, and if you haven't, I'm sorry. You'll see it when you see it. But honestly, his Krennic's guard should be an Imperial guard, an Imperial officer related guard, and then he should synergize, yes, more with Director Krennic. However, he could also synergize with giving, a certain unique stat boost buff to, something with Thrawn if Thrawn is lead, something with Director Krennic if Director Krennic is lead, maybe a little bit more with Director Krennic, or maybe all the buffs, a little bit of something with Darth Vader, and a little bit of something with, what's his name? Moff Gideon, whenever they decide to release Moff Gideon, of course, because he's not in the game. But currently, it would be Vader and Thrawn that would actually get some sort of synergy with Death Trooper. Not much, just a little bit of synergy. Aside from that, Death Trooper's kit is like really solid. There's nothing to change. Aside from the fact his Imperial Troopers allies should get like at least 25% health steal, just to give that health steal a little more durability. And next, Director Krennic, of course. He just needs to be updated just a little bit. Most of his kits is fine. He just needs to, Emperor allies maybe get 30 crit chance, 30 potency, 30 offense, 30 something. Some other stat, 30 crit avoidance. Yeah, it could be that. That could be that, could be that buff. Buff that up a little bit. Maybe you could go 40. I don't know. 30, 20, raise it up to at least 30 to 40%, somewhere 30, 35, 40, something like that. But then also have his recovery, maybe have 5% health recovery. So he has another, Empire will have another health recovery lead, but, you'd have to swap in and out which one, Between him and Garsax, but Garsax would be Imperial Troopers, where Director Krennic is not. Plus, he needs a Zeta. He was created when Zetas first came around. Like Death Trooper has a Zeta, his leadership has a Zeta, but why does his unique not have a Zeta? What was that? Give him a Zeta, give him some more stat boost buffs, and if Death Trooper's present, he also gains these bonuses. That kind of thing. Aside from that, Director Krennic is, he seems like a pretty solid character, but he does deserve a little bit more. And then last but not least, Imperial Probe Droid. The problem I have with him, and a lot of people do, is his self-destruct just does not damage enough. Especially thanks to Gear 13. So maybe there could be like a power scaling or something with self-destruct based on gear level, etc. So like maybe he does a lot more when he's gear 13 Relic 1 versus Relic 7. I don't know. They'd have to find a way of making it. Some people have suggested an insta-kill, but then they'd have to go through another reason and way to make it so that insta-kill makes sense. Like they'd actually have to have him have, 50% max. He has 50% max health, but he also has, I didn't realize that was on Imperial Probe Droid. Huh. But anyways, maybe, 50% max protection just to get, more protection on him. So it makes it a little harder to get down to that, aside from if you use Palpatine lead and you do the little, and Palpatine's first ability is to drain life from all allies. Unless they say, all non-droid allies to prevent that if they need to balance it, but I don't know, they'd have to find some way to make it better. But yeah, I didn't realize that he has 50% health, max health. Add some max protection or something, just give him some more damage. He does have some droid synergies, but not much. Target like enemies, yeah. So aside from that, these are the characters, I've thought of, gone through with Empire. If these 10 characters were reworked, the Empire faction, probably mostly at least 7 or 8 of them, if they were actually reworked, touched up, they would be more amazing than before. Like Imperial Super Commando is like probably the easiest thing to, just add the Imperial Trooper tag, eventually add the Mandalorian tag, because I hope that we get it this year. And then we can actually, he'd be like the easiest, simplest. Just give an Imperial Trooper tag, an Imperial Trooper stat boost in his unique, and then he's done. That's it. He's a simple, damage dealer, buff dispeller kind of guy. So, but yeah, let me know in the comments below. Did I miss anything? What do you think about the ideas that I had for each of these characters? Just let me know. And maybe if I missed any, just let me know. Thanks for watching, and you guys have a phenomenal day.